Hello, today is 7/18 of 24, and I am back again with a video of what I eat a day on my keto journey. It is about 9:30 in the morning. I'm not going to eat. I'm not hungry. I did have protein powder in my coffee, so I'm just fine. But I'm making some food for me to eat later because I want the flavors to kind of get melded together before I actually eat it. I'm going to make a spicy crab salad. So I'm eating it on my keto journey, right? But it is going to be higher in carbs than most of the dishes that I eat. But I was really craving crab. So I'm just using imitation crab, which has 14 grams of carbs in a serving, which is a half cup. There's 2.5 servings in this bag. I will probably only eat half a cup for a serving. But still, that's 14 grams of carb right there, and then plus whatever I eat it with, which will probably be. I'm thinking I'm going to have it with some romaine lettuce, which will add just like 1 or 2 carbs. I'm not real concerned about that. And then maybe have it in a wrap, but I might just eat it just with the lettuce. I'm just going to kind of have to see how I feel when it comes time to eat it. So this is 8 ounces of imitation crab. I'm going to get that into my mixing bowl. I'm not sure if you use like real crab instead of imitation crab, if it would be different, right? Like if the carbs would be, quite a bit different because you're using like the real food. It's made with fish, so it must just be the other ingredients that they add to it to kind of like make it look like crab or feel like crab or whatever, that kind of is adding in those carbs. But I don't have access to like fresh crab, so this is kind of my only option. Okay, so then I am going to add to that 2 green onions that I am going to get sliced up. And I'm only going to slice the dark and light green sections of my green onions. And you can make these kind of as thin or thick as you like. I do like mine to be a little on the bigger side for this. I like the added texture that it gives to have them a little bit bigger. There we go. And I'll just get that into my bowl. And that'll really be all of the chopping that I have to do. It's a pretty simple recipe, but it can pack a lot of flavor. All right, so then I'm going to add the ingredients that are basically like the dressing or the sauce. For it, I'm going to add about 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt and just a dash of pepper. And then I need a 1/4 cup of mayonnaise. I haven't been home for a while, so I've kind of gotten lost a little bit. I'm excited because this is like the last of my regular mayonnaise, and then I'm going to open my jar of avocado oil mayonnaise. So I'm going to level that off so I don't have a whole bunch more than what I need. And then I'm going to add Sriracha sauce, which is where we're kind of getting that spice from because it's spicy crab salad. And I'm a mess from the mayonnaise, of course. And you can add as much of this as you like. My original recipe calls for 2 teaspoons, and I've had it that way before, but I find that that's just a little spicier than I want. And I do like a bit of spice in my food, but for me, it's just a little too much. Maybe I'll add some sriracha if I can get into it. Oh, there we go. So I'm going to only add 1 teaspoon of sriracha, and then I'll try it and find, if I need some more spice, I can always add a little more spice. So I'm just going to add 1 teaspoon. And then the next thing I need is my lime juice. So I've got just imitation lime juice. Fresh lime juice would be better, but I don't have a lime. So I'm just using what I have on hand. So I need half a tablespoon of my lime juice. Okay, and then I will just get this all blended together. Kind of breaking up those bigger pieces of crab. So I'm really making sure that all of my dressing ingredients are well blended, right? Like I don't want a bite of just mayonnaise and a bite of just sriracha or anything like that. So I'm kind of just making sure that those are nicely blended together. And this looks good. So I'm going to give it a try to check on the spice level of my sriracha. And it actually does need just a little more. It's a little heavy on the mayonnaise flavor. So I'm going to get a little bit more blended in. I'll try this again. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so I'm just going to cover this, put it in my refrigerator, let it sit until I am ready to eat. Hello again. So it is about 10 o'clock, and I am now going to make the food that we are going to have for dinner tonight, which is going to be a slow cooked meal. And so that's again why I am making it right now. So I am going to be making Italian chicken over noodles. I'll cook the noodles later when we're ready to eat because we'll just put the chicken and sauce over the noodles, and I'll be using the Kaizen pasta for that. All right, so let's get everything into our slow cookers. So, a couple things about this recipe. It calls for 1 tablespoon of sugar, and I am actually going to use regular sugar for that because it's 1 tablespoon and it's for 6 people, right? So, I'm only getting a sixth of a tablespoon, which is half a teaspoon of regular sugar. I want to save my more expensive sugar, like my Allios or my Swerve or whatever. I want to save that for when I'm going to have a whole tablespoon of it, right? Because it's just more expensive and I'm not going to have very much. And I'm not at 20 grams of carbs. I just try to stay under 50, which I don't have any problems with. And I'm often under that even. So I'm going to go ahead and use a tablespoon of regular sugar, but feel free to substitute with, your sweetener of choice. Another thing is that I am going to be using cream of mushroom soup that I have purchased from the grocery store. It has 10, I believe. Yes, 10 grams of carb per serving, and there's 2.5 servings in this can. So that means there are 25 grams of carbs in this can, right? And the can is going to go in for the whole meal, but that's 25 divided by 6, which is about 4, right? 4 grams of carbs. So if you're really being strict about your carbs, that might not be what you want to use. You might want to use one that has fewer carbs, or make your own, something like that, rather than using the canned cream of soup. But again, it's only 4 carbs. For me, I'm saying under 50. That's not a big deal. I'm just going to go ahead and use the canned cream of mushroom soup. You can also use cream of chicken in this recipe. All right, so we need a 1/4 cup of butter. So I'm actually going to turn my slow cooker on to my low setting and hit start because we do want this to kind of be melted a bit, like like we don't want it to be melting as it's cooking. We want to kind of start it melting. I could just stick it in my microwave and like melt it, but I got to turn my slow cooker on anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and just stick in my 1/4 cup of butter into my slow cooker as it is, kind of warming up anyway. And that will get my butter at least most of the way melted while I am doing everything else. All right, so there's my 1/4 cup of butter. And then I need to add a bunch of seasonings. And I forgot my measuring spoon, so I will just grab those. All right, I'm going to start with my garlic powder. If I can find it, here it is. I need 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. So 1/2 tablespoon. Here we go. So I've got 1 teaspoon and my 2nd teaspoon. I need a teaspoon of ground black pepper. Dip it in, shake it to level it off. A teaspoon of dried basil. So many here. Sometimes it's hard to find. These are stored in my cabinet like this. That's why I have my labels on the side, but I could really use them on the top too. All right, so a teaspoon of dried basil. And then I need a tablespoon of onion powder. This one is harder to get because I have such small containers. There we go. A tablespoon of dried parsley. Two tablespoons of dried oregano, which I'm going to have to go get more oregano. Well, maybe not, actually. There we go. But I will need to get some later, so I'm going to set this off to the side. I need 2 tablespoons of salt. There's 1. And 2. Then I need a 1/4 teaspoon of ground thyme. And a 1/2 teaspoon. There we go. A 1/2 teaspoon of my celery seed, which I'm just going to use my 1/4 teaspoon twice, so I don't have to dirty another measuring spoon. Oh, that smells good. Okay, and then I need my 1 tablespoon of sugar. And again, I'm using regular sugar, but you can use whatever sweetener you want to use. Okay, so this is kind of what I got going on in here. I'm going to give my butter a little stir around and get those seasonings kind of mixed up a bit. Okay, and then I can add my chicken. So we need 2 pounds of diced chicken, which you can dice your own, but I really just didn't feel like dicing today. So I bought mine pre-diced from my grocery store. I'll just get that in there. Okay, and again, give this a stir so that we're kind of getting those seasonings all over our chicken. All right. I'm going to cover this and cook it on low for 6 to 8 hours. It is going to need to cook for another hour after that time because we're going to add our cream of mushroom soup or whatever kind of cream of soup you're going to have, and cream cheese. So, and then we're going to let it cook for another hour and get that all mixed in. So just kind of I guess keep that in mind. I'm used to teaching my cooking classes where I would make sure that people know what we're doing, but I will just be back in a little bit and it will be time to, kind of put the last ingredients in and cook it for another hour. It is 4 o'clock. I actually ended up eating lunch with my husband at Chick-fil-A because we kind of had the day kind of alone together. So we decided to go out for lunch. So there I had grilled chicken nuggets and a side salad. It was high in protein, low in calories. I want to say it's between 200 and 300 calories. So it really wasn't very much food. And then a few hours later, I had some of the crab salad that I had made. So it is now 4 o'clock. We will eat dinner as a family here in about an hour to an hour and a half. So I want to finish up this recipe. It smells delicious. So I'm going to start with that can of cream of mushroom soup. There we go. And then I'm using 1/3 less fat cream cheese in this recipe, mostly because I'm trying to utilize my calories to the best for me, right? So I want to have less fat because that tends to be high in calorie so that I can make sure I'm getting enough protein. I'm trying now. I have been trying to get to 100 and I do pretty good at that. I'm trying now to get my protein bumped up to that 135 that it should be. All right, so I'm going to kind of mix this around. That cream cheese isn't really going to mix in, but that's just fine. It'll kind of melt down as it sits in here and cooks for the next hour. Um, and then I'll be able to get it blended in. All right, so then the last ingredient that I need to add is 1.5 cups of chicken broth. So I have my chicken broth here. A lot of people I know use low sodium chicken broth. They say you should use low sodium, but because I need to make sure that I am getting enough salt in my diet, I am not going to use that. I'm going to use just regular chicken broth. And like I said, I need 1.5 cups. All right, and again, just kind of swirl it around. And then I'm just going to leave this on low and let it cook for another hour. So I'm ready to eat. I I really feel like I can't eat a whole lot. This is only half a serving of my pasta. Um, I'm really just not even sure that I'm going to eat all of this. But I'm trying to get my protein in. So I'm going to give myself the serving that I need in order to make sure I'm getting my protein in. And I might just kind of have to eat what I can and then come back later tonight and try and eat some more to get that protein in. And I need to eat something else in order to get my protein high enough too. So I plan to also have some cottage cheese with protein powder. So I don't know. We'll see how my day ends up. I'm going to use my ladle that has holes in it because I want to make sure that I'm getting my chicken portion, which is going to be where I'm getting my protein from, and not getting a bunch of calories from the sauce. So that's why I want to use kind of that strainer ladle. And then I will put a little bit of sauce in here just because I'm going to need it for my noodles. But I want to make sure that I'm getting that chicken in so I can make sure I'm getting that protein. All right, so I am going to go eat this with my family and I'll be back later. So I had the chicken with noodles for dinner, and I had about half of the crab salad for lunch. And then the other thing that I ate was some cottage cheese, and I mixed in a couple tablespoons of protein powder to kind of bump that up, along with a little bit of everything bagel seasoning. So if we look at my day, I had around 1,200 calories. My net carbs are 48, almost 49. So they are pretty high today, but under 50. So I'm really okay with that. And then my protein is 145. And so that is fantastic. That's what I want. I want to be bumping up that protein. So I'm pretty happy with the day that I had today. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow.